Hello guys, my name is Misty and welcome to the show. Today we're going to be playing some Wilder tanks and specifically looking at the Russian Tier 6 heavy tank, the KV-2. Now, I'm sorry if that scared you guys, but a lot of people need to know that seeing this tank like this is a terrifying thing and it should not happen to you. We'll get into why it's so terrifying in a moment, but first let's just take a general look at the tank and see how its stats add up. So, first thing you might want to notice is it is the exact same hull as the KV-1, a tier before it, which means you have 75 armor at the front, 75 at the sides, and 70 at the rear. That was pretty good at tier 5. At tier 6, it's nothing to write home about, so don't go expecting to bounce a lot of shells in this tank. Same with the turret. The turret's got 75 armor at the front, 75 at the sides, and 70 at the rear. Although it's very flat and is a rather large target, so you will get shells going through it pretty much all the time. The only bit of this turret that can actually effectively bounce shells is your large gun mantlet, although I have seen shells go through that as well. And these cheeks can bounce if you catch the right angle. But like I said, you shouldn't be trying to use this tank as a big battering ram to bounce shells. You're a second line support using this fantastic gun to deal large amounts of damage. We'll move on to the gun in a moment. Let's just have a look at the engine power and the speed of this tank. It's got an upgraded engine over the KV-1, giving it 500 horsepower, which means that in a straight line it can achieve 35 kilometers an hour, which is pretty decent for a tank that weighs 53 tons. The problem with it is its traverse speed. It's got 16 degrees per second, which is terrible in any sense of the word. And what I found is that as you're turning, you bleed a lot, if not all, of your forward momentum, so you pretty much come to a standstill at times, especially if you're on a minor hill. So don't expect any sort of movability out of this tank. That, coupled with the terrible traverse speed of the turret, which is 16 degrees per second, if you get flanked by a medium tank, they have to be pretty terrible for you to get your gun pointed at them again, because this tank will not turn, and that turret is not going to turn with you. In fact, it's got one of the worst traverse speeds in the entire game. Now, just a quick look. The view range is 330, which is rather poor. And I don't have the upgraded radio at the moment. I haven't seen the need for it. I don't play it enough to warrant spending money getting this upgraded turret, upgraded radio. When I play this style, I like to just sit back and let other people radio in from close range. So it's not such a problem, but if you get it, you get 440 signal range. I haven't got the upgraded radio yet, which means that at the moment I currently only have 360 signal range. If I were to get it, I'd get 440 meter signal range. I would recommend getting it because it allows you to be a little further away from the front line when you're supporting. But as we'll see in a minute, with the accuracy of this gun, you can't be too far away from the front lines anyway if you want to hit things consistently, so it's not that big an issue. Now, this tank has fairly average stats on pretty much everything, but that's the only thing you need to worry about. Everything else is about the gun. Now, we're going to take a quick look at the options here, and then I'll tell you which gun you should be using. And there is no argument in this one. There is just one gun you should be using. We'll get that one in a minute. Let's go through the options here. We have the tier 5 gun that you'll pick up from the KV-1. It's the 122mm howitzer cannon. So at tier 6, that 61 armor pen is not very useful at all, and you will generally not do much damage with it, if any. You'll do 60-70 damage a shot if you're lucky. It's not all that great unless you can be firing at weak targets like scout tanks or the sides or back of heavier tanks. But even then, I've seen this gun bounce off the rear of heavy tanks, sometimes doing very minor damage to them with the splash from the HE. So you don't want to be on that gun unless you were stock and having to grind up, and in which case you want to quickly move on to the other options. This is the tier 7 gun you unlock at the very end of the tree. If we go to the research tree quickly, you can see where it is. Here we go. There's that one, and there's the tier 6 gun, which we haven't looked at yet. This one, it's a decent gun all around, to be honest. It is a well worth gun, but on this tank, it's pointless, as the other options are fantastic. Just a quick look at it. 6.19 rate of fire, That's a decent rate of fire for a gun at this tier doing 300 alpha damage and 167 armor pen. That's very useful. Unfortunately, its accuracy is 0.45, which is not very good accuracy for a gun like this. It means you do have to get quite up close and personal, and as I said, the armor values in this tank are not very good to allow you to do that. And with a 3.14 aiming time, you've got to leave your tank out in front of your opponents for quite a long time before you can hit them, which is never a good thing in a lightly armored tank. So, you can basically disregard both those guns. I just told you about them for the sake of telling you and letting you know what's available. The gun you want to be using, and really should be using, is this 152mm M10. It is basically an artillery gun on a tank, is the easiest way to describe this thing. You'll be firing a 152mm shell at people with the ability to do up to 700 alpha damage with the standard armor pen rounds. The rate of fire at 2.15 is abysmal, and you will be firing at about 21 seconds per reload, which is quite bad. It's, you know, closing in artillery sort of rates of fire, which is not good. The gold shells have 136 armor pen, but you want to disregard those as well. I know I'm telling you exactly what to do, and normally I'd say think for yourselves, but in this case, guys, please listen. Fire HE. Just only ever fire HE, because you have 910 average alpha damage with a high explosive shell, which has 86 armor pen. And at tier 6, there are plenty of tanks that will penetrate and do the full damage with this gun, and that will pretty much one-shot most tier 6s in a heartbeat. Tier 5s will disappear instantly, and you won't even have to worry about them. So, even if you don't penetrate with that 86 armor pen, the shell will hit the outside and do around 400 damage to them and critically damage them, which means you will knock out crew members, modules of the tank, the gun will go down, their tracks will come off, any number of bad things will happen to any opponent that gets hit by this shell, if they're lucky enough to stay alive. You will have to be aiming for quite a long time, with a 4-second aiming time and a 0.6 accuracy. You have to get rather lucky from range or be quite close to hit them with the shell efficiently, but I found that the accuracy isn't all that bad when you're actually playing the tank. It doesn't feel terrible, partly because this shell actually has splash damage, so if you barely miss them, it will still cause damage, but mostly the gun tends to hit your target. Perhaps I've just been lucky, I don't know, but I'm not going to argue with it as long as it keeps giving me the damage I want. So, that's the gun you really should be using. As you see, I stock it full of HE. I don't even bother with other shells. There's no need for them. You don't fire quick enough to warrant having other shells in the tank. The equipment I have on it, I have the improved ventilation, the enhanced gun lane drive, and the large caliber tank gun rammer, because I want to reduce my load time, reduce my aiming time, and generally improve the all-round tank, but primarily just improve my aiming and reload time again, because I don't want to be standing out in front of someone for as long as possible just to get this shot off. I'd rather do it quickly and fast reloads to prevent medium tanks swarming me. And that is the prime thing I can say about this tank. The biggest point I can make in terms of survivability: do not go out on your own, because you will get circled by probably a heavy tank, in honestly. There is no way you will keep up with them if they go around you with this slow traverse on the turret and the tank. So that being said, let's see how it performs in some actual matches, and we'll see whether you guys enjoy it or not. Right then guys, here's our first game. We are top tier on Sacred Valley, so we're going to be hoping to find some of those low tier squishy targets to try and put these high explosive shells into. Unfortunately, the terrible traverse speed on that tank trying to turn around is very painful. And there's a fellow Tog there, very slow vehicle too. We're brothers in arms in our slow speeds. He's decided to go uphill, but I'm going to continue down to the ridge line overlooking the capture flag and try and protect that area. But we're not going to get there very quickly, seeing as we are incredibly slow. That being said, downhill, that's 30 kilometers an hour. That's not too bad. It just, like I said, bleeds speed really badly if you try to turn. As you will notice later on, I have some serious trouble getting around places. And it does influence where you can and can't go on the map. And especially influences where you can and cannot relocate to when the situation needs. So I'm going to head down here, try and get myself on the edge of this ridge line so I can fire across the valley and keep myself hidden, because this turret is so large that you do need to be careful where you position yourself, because places that other tanks can go, you can't, because your turret will just stand out. So I see the PZ-38's heading off there, trying to get a bit of early scouting. Hopefully we can get in position in time to try and make the most of it. And fast forward here, is this just me explaining how to side scrape to my friend. And destroying a poor person's house, and a second house as well. I apologize for that. I sincerely hope the people inside were still there. Right. So there, we're trying to find a shot on the RL-44. Unfortunately, he is behind a cliff. But then we notice the SU-100, and the slow aiming time. But we get a shot away, and that's 357 damage and a critical hit. As I said, the high explosive will almost guarantee a critical hit of some kind. Don't know what we did to him. He could have knocked out a crew member, taken out his tracks, maybe damaged the gun. But either way, he is in a world of pain. And someone else followed up the shot and killed him for us. There, the slow reload meant I couldn't get a shot off on that T-80. But we got another shell in the barrel now. We're going to look for more shots. And the VK-361H makes himself available. So we're not going to turn him down. And we're going to try and fire here. And unfortunately, the long range means that that shell doesn't hit the target. That's the unfortunate side effect of that 0.6 meter range accuracy on the tank, sorry. And the shell just went high and wide over the back of him. So we get another reload now. And we see the 361H has advanced forward down the valley into the actual capture area. So we're trying to back up and get shots on him. But as you can see there, I tilt the camera to see what's in the way. And there's a whole bridge, and this gun is powerful, but not that powerful. It's not going to go through a bridge, so we're going to have to move around and try and get a better shot. Trying to find a shot through the little crest here to try and get the ARL. We find one, but someone else finds him first. And then the PZ man modes it for a ram. But unfortunately gets killed. Now, someone is starting to capture, and as you notice here, these KV-1Ss in front of me panic because somebody started a cap and drive straight off a cliff, losing their tracks and some of their health. Guys, if somebody starts to cap, don't panic, because early on it's going to take them a long time to cap. As you can see there, it's over 3 minutes for them to cap. So knowing that they're going to push down there and probably get shot down from over the other side of the ridge, I move across to try and lay down some cover fire. You can't control your teammates, but you can always try and benefit from their decisions. So this is what I'm going to do. Let them draw out the shots and try and put some cover fire into the enemy on the ridge. Unfortunately, they are eating a lot of shells there. But I noticed Churchill, he's got a high rate of fire on him, so he needs to be dealt with. I can't see him cleanly. But the shell flies through, dips over the ridge and hits the Churchill. Doing solid 404 damage and another critical hit. I really will have to get the Eagle Eye perk so I know exactly what damage I've done to them. But at the moment we're just going to have to hope that we hurt a lot of parts of it. So I reload now, and I don't think he's moved. So I take another shot. He may have been there, may have been splashed. But either way, he wasn't hit directly, and that's a wasted shell. And I wouldn't recommend doing that. That was a 4 on my part. It's a 20-second reload now. I've got to sit and wait, where I could be using these shells to help my team. And here, I try to get shots on the VK, and I pull too far forward and reveal myself. But it does mean I get a shot off in the ARL. But I don't think that one hit. I think it went low, hit the ground in front of him. And I pay for my silliness by getting a lot of damage there. Over half my health gone and my turret jammed. So I back up, get myself behind cover, and get for a reload again. Waiting to be unspotted here. Thankfully, someone's come up behind that Churchill and distracted him. So I'm going to pull back out, see if I can get another shot on someone here. Then I think against it, I know the ARL is still up on that ridgeline, and I now realise I'm being flanked. And that's the usefulness of checking your map, guys. I realise there are 2 tanks coming up behind me, and I need to get myself in position, because this tank is so slow. that I cannot do it quickly. Being said, this is a large tank, but you can give some surprises, and I'm about to give a very big surprise to someone now. Some poor guy is going to come around this corner, and my word is he going to regret it. So I think if I get myself up this hill now, I'm going to keep that wall between me and the tank destroyers on the far cliff. And I'm also going to be in cover behind this tree so that I won't be spotted immediately by anything coming round. So I keep myself there, and here comes Nashorn, and oh, he really regretted that. 600 health, an immediate kill from full health. I know for a fact those tanks have terrible side armor, and the shell went straight through and destroyed him, and that is what you can do with this gun. Highly amusing to do, and I was in stitches when that happened. I almost dropped the mouse. So I pull back up, knowing the T-150 is still going to be coming around the corner. I'm trying to get myself in a position where I'm not going to be shot in the rear from the tank destroyers, and get the drop on the T-150. I don't want him to know where I am and come to me. So I pull up from where I was last spotted and hopefully catch him unawares. And there he is, spotted. And I get a shot off right before he does, and very luckily bounce a shot off the back of my tank there. I think that caught me on the side. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, it caught me right on the side of the gun mantlet. So it came from the back here and caught the side, and that was very lucky. And the artillery just misses me as well. So I'm backing up, keeping that house in front of me so any more shells don't hit me directly. Now that I've been unspotted, I'm going to have to maneuver now, and it's me against two opponents, one artillery and an ARL V39, which has already proven he is very good. He has got himself 2 kills. So I've got to be careful now. I know if I drive out into the open down there, they're going to spot me, and I'm not going to see them. And that'll be very bad. So I come over here. Unfortunately, I clipped the tree. That was bad on my part. Hopefully they weren't noticing. But I can't see anything up there. I was hoping to try and catch someone trying to move down. So now I have to make the decision. Where am I going to go to try and lay ambush? I know I've got 6 minutes left for the cap. I think about going down the ravine to the left, but I've decided that's perhaps not the best idea. It leaves me too open. So I'm going to head up to the right and come down the main ravine leading to the cap zone. That'll keep the bridge above me and a solid rock face to my right, preventing any shots coming from the hill. And that'll allow me to get cover over the cap zone as well, just in case they make a move to cap. Now, here's where the mobility of this tank really lets me down, and you'll see me struggling to figure out the best way to get there. First of all, I try to go down this cliff face. And then I suddenly realised how stupid an idea that is, as we just watched 2 KV-1Ss fly off the edge of that cliff. But it doesn't quite click until I get there and suddenly realize, oh no, my tank can't fly, and I'm going to have to turn around. Unfortunately, this tank doesn't like turning. And it also doesn't like trees, as that's about the 8th one I've hit so far. And if artillery was paying attention, I would have probably been dead. Luckily for me, they weren't. As you can see, I'm struggling to get over the rocks here. I'm going to fast forward this a little bit, as nothing much happens other than me driving around very slowly. There's another tree down. My gosh, I really am destroying everything here. Greenpeace, don't shout at me. As you said, going downhill now, trying to get myself in a position. So I decided if I keep cover here, I'll know where they are, and there we go. Somebody's decided to cap. Now I've got to figure out whether it's the tank destroyer or the artillery. So I poke out very slightly, and I can't see anything, so I'm going to have to man mode it a bit and go out into the open, trying to keep that rock face to my right in the way. But as I crest the hill here, I'm a bit exposed, I feel. I find it's the artillery. I take aim. The long aim time means I eat a shot, and the shell lands in front of me, and that was bad. And that's cost me now. I can't take a second hit from either of them, so I have to pull back and keep myself safe. I know the shot from the tank destroyer came up into my right, so I know I'll be safe by here, but he could come down the bridge and come out behind me. He could come in front of me and use the artillery to distract me, so I've got to be very careful now. Trying to keep myself hugging against this cliff, but also trying to stay in a position where I can shoot at the artillery if he comes around the corner, because I don't want to let him get a shot off and get a lucky kill. And there's me thinking perhaps he's going to come down behind me now, so I got to be careful. Trying to catch him, perhaps moving around to get a better shot. but the gun depression means I can't get the gun down enough. Thankfully there wasn't anyone there anyway. And now here's where I make the decision. I know they're going to try and cap. They've already shown they want to cap now. So I'm going to sit here and wait. There's only 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. So they're going to have to move forward if they want to cap this game out. And this is a smart decision by me. It keeps me safe and lets them come to me and keeps me in protected area. So I'm going to sit here and wait. And I know they're going to come to the cap at some point. It's just which one of them is going to come down for the cap. Is one of them going to be brave and think they can get a shot off on me quickly? Just trying to keep an eye on that ridge in front of me now. I need to catch them as they crest that ridge. And my heart was in my mouth here, guys. This was a very tense moment. And there's the ARL, and he crests the ridge. But I'm already fully aimed. And there. Did you hear that, guys? Artillery took a shot, and I'm not entirely sure where he was aiming to. But there's an artillery shell, and that is useful information. You've got to pay attention to things like that. I now know he's fired. And so I drive forward, knowing he's got a long reload time, and I will reload before him. So I can get myself in a position comfortably now without having to worry about being shot back at. And I take aim. And there's the reload, and he knows he's dead now. And the shell goes in, and that's a big win for us, guys. It's us against 3 other people. Actually 4 if you count the Nash Horn that got vaporized, and we managed to pull it off. So it's a great victory and showcasing how destructive this tank can actually be. So let's see what happens in the next match. Okay, another top tier battle on Mountain Pass. Now, this match is going to showcase you one of the biggest weaknesses of this tank. Besides the fact that its armor is very bad at times, it's incredibly slow, as I've already mentioned, and this is going to showcase how bad that can be for you. In meaning that even in a good match, you can't get to do all that much. So there's me admiring the FE304, a little go-kart with a gun that's always amusing. And I'm going to push up here and head to the right round in the valley, because I know there's going to be a bunch of tanks coming through there. As it's very rare to not have at least 3 or 4 tanks trying to hold that corner. So as we come across now, I'm going to be aiming across into the ravine, just in case. You always want to keep your turret turned towards the enemy, get you that lucky bounce. Then I realised none of them are actually stopping, they're making a move. So then I pick the aim in the Hellcat, and he just gets behind the rock before I aim, and I don't want a chance wasting a shell there. So I do sit here too long waiting for that Hellcat. It's a waste of time, and the artillery decides that he doesn't like him hiding, nails him, and somebody else tries to catch him, but the Hellcat was lucky there. Moved out of the way just in time. But somebody else got him. The artillery took a second shot. And that was a good hit for us. So you can see now, I've dropped behind the front line, as you'd expect in an attack this slow. So because we've taken so long to get around the corner, I'm expecting the enemy to have pushed round. So I look to get into a defensive position here. And I'm going to pull up to this rock and try and side scrape. Unfortunately, my driver is partially blind and doesn't realise that the rock actually sticks out a little bit. So yeah, I crashed. It's not the first time, won't be the last. So there's me side scraping a little bit. Just keeping the front of my tank covered up. Cover that low glacier, so only give him shots at a very small angle. Then I realised that nobody's come around the corner and the Churchill is making a move. And I crash again, so that's not helping me get up to the front lines. Really got to work on my driving skills. As you can see, the Churchill isn't stopping. He's going to go around that corner. So again, I've got to back him up. You can't always control your team, but you've got to work with it. It's the best thing I can teach you guys. If your team is doing something silly, look to capitalize off it. So I think it's a bit daft that this Churchill's going around the corner. We know there's at least 3 tanks waiting there. But it turns out not to be a terrible idea on his part. It seems the enemy has backed off quite a bit. So there he gets caught inside with the Chinukai, the new Japanese Tier 5 Premium. And he's taking a little bit of damage, but he's moved back into cover, so he's safe for the minute. And I think he just bounced a shell there. It's quite lucky off the side of his armor. Takes another hit, but then artillery again was really good in this match. In fair dues to them, they nailed the Chinukai. But again, we're too far behind to get a shot off. And this is something you will do with this tank, and it will be infuriating. And I know any of you T95 drivers, you'll agree, being the slowest thing in the field is quite painful at times. So I'm actually going to fast forward a tiny bit here, because it takes me a while to get where I need to go. So there's the T-49. I've noticed he's down there in cover. Now I know the Church is going to take that position on the hill and keep him pinned. So I'm going to move down. Keep myself behind this ridge lines for any shots on the left. And try and get this T-49. So there he is. Forces him round because he knows I'm there. He's scared now and he gets nailed. And I think he gets tracked. It doesn't matter to us though. Derp shot on the side of the armor. Only 106 because that's all he had left. But that would have done full damage to him. And that would have one-shot him from full health. So yeah, I'm instructing my friend there to go around the right-hand side of this outcrop in front of us. And I'm going to come up the left just to try and split the fire. If you're in a platoon, guys, always communicate and work with each other. Try and spread out your enemy. Make it hard for them to pick fire at you. So I'm keeping that ridge in front of me again just in case. But this is a bit of a cakewalk, guys. 11-6. The enemy's being crushed. And I don't think I'm going to get much more damage. But I'm trying to keep myself going. Try and get another hit off to someone. And yeah, look for the T-34. And there's suddenly an SU-100. And he's taking aim at my teammate there. So I have to quickly fire. Luckily get a shot in the side armor. And it's 344 damage. Another crit hit. But it doesn't matter because the guy's dead anyway. And that's about all I get out of this match, guys. So that shows how bad it can be in a tank this slow. You have to get in the front lines. And if your team is just dominating theirs, sometimes you won't even get to fire a shot. I have had games where I've done nothing but drive round. And it's actually quite boring. So just keep that in mind. It's a great tank with a poor speed. So you got one more match, and that one wasn't so great. So hopefully the next match will be more enjoyable. Alright, so here's the next game. We're going to be top tier again. And this time we're going to have to look to use this gun to its full effect if we want to get anything out of this match. I'm a bit tempted to go driving off into the distance. Because last game we didn't get to the front lines and we couldn't use this gun to do the damage that I know it can do. But I had to stay calm. You've got to think things through and be calm and collected. And I decided that driving off like a madman isn't going to get me anywhere. Especially as this tank is so big and so slow. It'll be picked off in seconds. So instead I'm going to go up to the north here and just hold this corner. Because I know people like to come around it quickly and try and catch the heavy tanks before they can get in position. So I'm going to stay a little further back and just protect this corner for my allies to prevent them getting flanked. And that's perhaps the best thing you can do in a game like this. After a game you've just had where you couldn't get the gun off, you couldn't hit anyone, get a bit agitated, you just stay calm, take a couple of breaths, and move on. And that's the best way you'll play this game, and that'll make you survive a lot longer. So I get in position here, using the large turret to poke over the ridge and keep my hull down. Waiting for someone to come around this corner, and there comes a Cromwell, and I got very lucky with that shot. I didn't fully aim at all, and that was really lucky on my half, but the Cromwell, really unlucky for him. Critical damage, could have hit his engine block considering the shell went in through the back. Either way, someone else is starting to take pot shots at him now, and he's in a lot of pain. So we hold here now, waiting to see if anyone else is going to come around that corner, but I don't think they will. They'd be a bit brave to drive around there after they just saw the Cromwell lose almost all his health. And then my allies go make a brave move here. They drive around that corner, and I'm not too sure whether I should follow them. I know there's going to be a lot of flanking fire coming from the ridgeline on the right. And I think perhaps I should go with them, but I decide no, it's not a smart idea. I know I've been saying you've got to make use of your allies' mistakes. This is one of those mistakes you've got to be smart about and decide, no, where I'm going wouldn't actually help the team. As you can see, they're getting hit from all sides here. And the T-28, I'm not sure what he's doing. He just doesn't want to live anymore. Apparently that tank is so bad, he's not happy with it. And now it's even worse because it's in bits. So, not sure what he was doing. And I'm trying to get the Crusader to get back, give him cover. And the artillery just misses him, lucky for him. But unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get out of there. Someone else knows he's there. We'll tank the stripe on the ridgeline, I think. Another hit, and down he goes. Unfortunate, but maybe that's going to make the enemy get a bit ambitious, especially as they're winning 0-8 here. So I pull back, keep an eye on that corner, see if anyone's going to come round. There's not much I can do but hold the corner and hope. And I spot the Agpanzer over on the right there, and I think perhaps I should go and get a couple of shots on him. But I say, no, I know there's two tanks around that corner, and a Matilda much further back. So I've got to keep an eye in here, just to make sure, just to be safe. And there we go, the Matilda's being brave. And the Matilda's not so brave now. Down to 3 health left for the Matilda there from 1 shell. Actually incredibly lucky to still survive. Someone picks off the Cromwell that we injured earlier. And somebody's going to pick off the Matilda. There they go. That's a full health Matilda down to 3 health in a single shot. And we critically hit the Matilda as well. So now I don't think anyone's going to come around. And artillery, not sure why he's going to focus me, but apparently I insulted him at some point and he will spend the rest of the game throwing shells at me. I apologize to the artillery if I did insult him, but next time please don't shoot me all that much. It's really not nice. So I back up thinking, right, the artillery's got me trained, I'm going to have to move now. Throw him off a bit, but I'm no longer spotted. And I think I get a crisis of conscience here. I'm thinking perhaps I got to go down to the south of the map, prevent that flank. But then I remember the Jumbo is still there, the M4 Jumbo, and I can't leave him. Especially as that VK301H is moving. There's now nobody on this northern flank, so I've got to go back there. Make up for my team abandoning the corner. I've got to go hold it now. I can't let us get flanked, because they'll get straight through and kill the artillery. And then we'll be down a lot of firepower. There's a big roar from the artillery shot there. I do love this mod pack. And there's the Jumbo. We catch him unawares and a 441 damage into him, but he does put a shot back into us. Another one there, and we get lucky, and he hits the front turret, I believe. There's no marker there, but that shot did go into the turret, and it bounced off. And there's the other one on the hull. That went in straight through the viewport there. Bit lucky, bounced a shot off him, so we pull it back now. Waiting for that reload, and that's what we're going to do, is try and keep him at distance while we can reload. But we lose him, we don't know where he is. I don't want to go around that corner without a shell loaded. And he's not there anymore, and that worries me now. I'm thinking perhaps he's pulled back, perhaps he doesn't want to take another shell. And oh god, he's turned up behind us. And he gets another good shot on our side, but low damage roll. And we put a shot into him, and it doesn't matter what damage roll it was. He did not have enough health to survive the splash damage there. Shell didn't actually go in through the armor, hit the front flywheel of that engine, and went up. But that's all it took. The splash damage finished him. And there's the artillery again, my old buddy. Nails me again, takes out my tracks and my radio man. I waste the repair kit there. Should have stayed calm, but I wanted to move and get out the way. There's no way the artillery would have reloaded in time, so I could have stayed and saved the repair kit. But instead, I'm going to have to pull down here now, make the most of that repair kit, get the tracks moving, and get myself into a position where I can start defending this cap zone. I haven't got any shots on that T-49, so I look over, and a KV-1S is leaving his back end, poking out behind the rock. So I wait for the aim, and I'm praying to the shells, the god of shells here, that flies true, and it did, right into the back for 425 alpha damage again. We've already done almost 2,000 damage with this gun. And we've been able to contribute up to 1 kill, but pretty much putting 3 other opponents down to practically dead. And here comes the long reload, but we're taking time again to aim. Make sure we get a shot off, and we've got to make this one land too. And he's on fire, and that was a waste of a shell. Now I could have saved that and aimed for the Churchill instead. It was a mistake on my part. I didn't realize he was on fire when I shot. So I'm going to have to reload again now and try and catch this T-49 out in the open. And I know he's seen me, and I know I've got to move because of artillery. But I aim anyway, take the time, and straight through the front. One hit the T-49, and I back up now, trying to throw the artillery off. I know I'm going to still be spotted for 6 seconds, so I'm backing up, backing up. I think that was the Churchill there, just shot the ridgeline to the left of us. So I pull forward again now, thinking, alright, the artillery's going to have moved off, it can't see me anymore. Unfortunately, I was wrong, and he caught me square in the side. And that's the end of that game, folks. So as we can see there, very good gun, high power, but weak armor. You can get some lucky bounces, but all in all, that tank is not a competitive tank, but it is highly amusing. And that kill I had in the Nasherhorn from the first match, you can get hundreds of kills like that with this gun, and you will always laugh. And it is well worth the time to get, guys. I highly recommend it. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.